Question, guys. Does my righteous acts prove I am born again, righteous from God, that I'm the righteousness of God? Some people have this idea that my acts somehow define who I am. Certainly they are important, but they don't identify who we are as children of God. Certainly you would think if you were born from God that you would inevitably always perform like you are a child of God. But that is not true. When we look into the scriptures, you're going to find two truths. One truth is that yes, you are a child of God. That is, you are the righteousness of God. That is your identity. That doesn't change. You are holy, set apart. The Apostle Paul says that we've been sanctified, washed clean. What's the other term he uses in 1 Corinthians chapter 6? Sanctified, washed clean, justified. Basically, the term sanctified there is to be set apart, holy, to be made holy. So when you're born again, you're made holy. And that's the requirement that Jesus said that is necessary, that one to be part of God's family. It's not a way to work your way through it. Remember, he was talking to Nicodemus. Nicodemus, certainly a righteous man, by all accounts, a very astute man, religious man, living the way, yet his lifestyle, him being a religious person, didn't guarantee him anything. He still needed to be born again. Look at John chapter 3. Jesus tells him clearly that he needed to believe. So, to be born again, born from above, born from God, right? So, it's important to recognize there's a difference. When you are born again, when you accept and believe in Jesus, as Jesus said in John chapter 3, he that believeth in him will have eternal life. It's important to recognize what happens at your birth, at your new birth. Right? At the new birth is you are crucified. Romans chapter 6, you are crucified. Your old self gets crucified. You get a new person. You become a new person. You get a new heart. Ezekiel 36:26. God pours his love into your new heart. New spirit, new soul. Everything. You are basically a new person, a new creation. It's the only way that you can have a relationship with God, and because so, you are then identified as holy, as a saint. That's why the apostles never wrote to sinners, but to saints. That's their identity. Now, did their behavior match their identity? Well, at times, no. Did it change though their identity? Of course not. They were still the righteousness of God. They're still saints, regardless of their actions. Now, it follows, friends. That's why the apostles talk about, you are the light, therefore walk in the light like you are, because who you are. Now, you can choose not to walk in the light. That's your choice. But it doesn't change who you are as the righteousness of God. It doesn't change the fact that you're still a saint and not a sinner, identified by God. Does that make sense, guys? Some people confuse the two. Some that I've spoken to think, well, if you're born again, you'll have all the right works. Not necessarily. We are still growing and learning, friends. Like Jesus said of Jesus that he was growing in stature before men. Well, so are we. We are also growing. Doesn't mean our choices will always be correct. Doesn't mean we're going to make the right decisions, and it doesn't mean we're always going to walk. We're sometimes going to trip over and fall. It doesn't still change who we are. So there, we have to learn to separate the two. Yes, there are righteous acts, and sometimes there are unrighteous acts we do. But there is righteous acts, and there is the righteousness of God. We can do righteous acts, which are holy and beneficial for us, right? But it doesn't mean, doesn't identify us. We're identified because of the birth. that God birthed us, as it were. We're born again. That's how we come into the family of God, by birth, not by our works. Remember what Ephesians 2, 8 and 9 says? Ephesians chapter 2, 8 and 9. It's not by your works that you're being saved, unless otherwise you would boast. No, it's by God. It's a work of God. Right? So just a little thought I wanted to share with you, because I've had a few friends who are born again believers, maybe a little bit caught up with a little bit of Calvinism, or works-based ideas coming from the religious side of things that they were part of, that I was part of as well. It was heavily on the works and works-based identity. That is no longer, that is not the truth about your identity. It's not about your works at all. It is a work of God. Why? Because you believe in His Son. You believe in Him, believe in the finished work of Jesus, and you receive everything that comes from Christ, including the righteousness of God, being the righteousness of God. A new person. The old person is dead, crucified. And so you'll always see in the scriptures, you'll see that you're identified. The apostles normally identify who you are, assure you of your identity, and then encourage you to walk in that because of who you are. Does that make sense? You'll always see that you're the light, therefore walk in the light, right? You've been crucified. Now, why give yourself over to sin? Since you're crucified, you're a new person, right? So why allow sin to reign into your life? Don't let sin reign into your life. That's how you'll read. That's how you would read their words. They're always separating the one from the other. Hope that's helped you understand your position and who you are, your identity, I should say, as a believer, as a born-again believer. Once you accept Jesus, the finished work of Jesus, His death, burial, and resurrection, once you accept Him, believe in Him, you receive everything and the right to be called a child of God. John chapter 1, verse 12. Anyone who accepts Jesus has the right to be called a child of God, a saint, the righteousness of God, the children of the resurrection. That's who you are. Have a great day, guys. Talk again. See ya.